Big shout out to Raytheon for being completely correct when they said on that January 25th earning call, which we've talked about a couple of times. This is the CEO of Raytheon who said that, quote, "I fully expect we're going to see some benefit from it." And that was included in that sentence. He was talking about tensions in Eastern Europe, among other conflicts around the world. And that's absolutely right. That is, it turned out to be completely correct. And the amount that they're going to see, it's not some benefit. They're going to see enormous benefit from it. And it will not have sufficient oversight, as you point out in this fantastic breakdown of the bill. I mean, it's insane when you peel back the layers of this legislation to see exactly how the sausage is getting made. It really is gross.
And I was glad to see Massie call out the military-industrial complex like he did on Fox, and maybe we can add those comments.
The other committee that I serve on is the Transportation Committee. And I can tell you, with the $40 billion that we spent last night, added to the $14 billion we've already spent, that's $54 billion. That's equal to the entire amount that the federal government spends on roads and bridges every year. So the next time you hit a pothole and you have to replace your tire or your rim, or you're sitting in traffic, just remember that Congress could have doubled spending on our own infrastructure instead of sending that money to Ukraine. Well, I think it's wrong to use Ukraine as a grinding stone against the Russian military, because even though American blood isn't being spilled there, blood is being spilled. We should look for an end to this conflict. But I'm worried that the military-industrial complex doesn't want an end. You know, $54 billion, that's suspiciously close to the annual amount we were spending in Afghanistan every year. And so as soon as we stop spending $50 billion in Afghanistan, now we're spending $50 billion in Ukraine. If only the military-industrial complex made baby formula, you know, we'd be okay. We'd have enough to fill up our swimming pools with that kind of money.
Really disingenuous of him to say, it's such a shame that we're spending the money in Ukraine when we can't, and so that we're not spending it here. Next time you drive over a pothole, think of Ukraine. That's basically what he was saying. Thomas Massie voted against the bipartisan infrastructure bill. I actually think that's completely consistent, because he voted against it because that money was going without a lot of strings attached, with a lot of pork. And if you're one of those hardcore sort of libertarian members, I think it is consistent. If you're a libertarian, you think you should fix your own pothole.
Absolutely.
What are you complaining about?
Absolutely. Bring a shovel. Yeah. Yes. And no, so I think it's consistent from Massie's perspective. But it is interesting to compare, like, these numbers. There's even like psychological social science on how past a certain threshold, our minds don't really process numbers in a way that it's like 5 versus 2 versus 20. But when you get into 40 billion, it's like, well, what does that mean in comparison to what we're spending on X, Y, and Z at home? That is an incredible amount of money compared to what we spend on some of our own programs here. And the entitlement to just get it and intentionally get it without sufficient oversight mechanisms, to intentionally put that in the bill, as you just broke down, it is just classic. That is so typical.